Hey, welcome to Strum It Up Week 6. We've been through a lot. We've been focusing, if you haven't seen all 5 weeks prior, we've been building up to what we're going to be doing for the rest of the course, which is interpreting music, interpreting tracks, and figuring out a way that we can strum well within the context of particular grooves. What we focused on the previous 5 weeks was getting the rhythm inside of us. So many acoustic guitar players, electric guitar players alike, when they go to strum, they're looking at a strum pattern or they're listening to a song and hearing the subdivisions, and they overthink. And they forget to let the music become part of them. They forget to groove with the music. So what we've been doing the past 5 weeks, is focusing on motion and groove in our body. We started out without the guitar. We started out by learning to tap our foot and do different subdivisions with our hands. We started with the quarter note in our leg, eighth notes in our hands, and then we would add the 16th notes. And then finally, we did this cool thing, which many of you are submitting badges and earning jam points by doing these things. We put we did the eighth notes the eighth note values between our legs and our hands, and kept this going quarter note, and then the sum of everything with the hands was 16th notes. So it sounded like this. So once we did that, we got to the point to where we took it to the guitar. And a lot of you had questions after the first week where I didn't really pick up the guitar at all. A lot of you, well, how does this pertain to the guitar? So at the end of the first session, and we've been proving it ever since, we do those multiple subdivisions, or we should be, every time we strum. So if we're strumming this, I'm going to tap my foot, and I'm going to strum a G chord, and I'm going to strum eighth notes on the downstroke. That very simple thing. I've got the rhythm in me. I've got quarter notes going with my foot, as you can see at my knee. I've got eighth notes on the downstroke, but my arm is moving in a 16th note fashion. So we've got quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes all happening at the same time, even though you're only hearing the eighth notes. What this does is it makes things feel more fluid when you go to add ghost strokes. Strokes that are maybe not necessarily intentional, but they're not necessarily accidental either. Notice how natural that strum feels. It's not really planned. It's not a pattern per se as it would be written out, but it becomes a pattern because your body embraces the rhythm, the groove. And so what we've been doing up until this week is we've been learning different rhythms, different grooves. Now we're going to look at a track this week. We're going to listen to it, and we're going to complement it. There's nothing written for the acoustic guitar part in this track. There is electric guitar rhythm, and we're going to play along with that too with the electric guitar, but we'll soon find out that when we're playing along with a group, and it's up to us to fit into the track, there's no written part. We're going to get in the groove, we're going to do some of the things that we've been doing, look at the score, figure out what's going on in the music, and then experiment. Now here's the cool thing. Even though I did this track, I purposely didn't play, I've strummed a little bit with it, but I didn't play the acoustic guitar with the track until today, because I want to be in the same boat where I'm listening to this thing going, okay, how can we make this track work with acoustic guitar? How can we make the acoustic guitar fit? I want to be in the same boat that I'm teaching you guys to be in with this example. So this is going to be pretty cool. So supplemental content. Go to the first page. This is called Night Driving, Week 6. And let's look over the first page real quick. By now, a lot of this stuff is fairly, hopefully familiar to you. We've got an eighth note common pattern here. Lots of eighth notes. Some accents. Palm muting. We've gone over palm muting. Looks like down a third line, second measure in, we've got a slide. There's a little bit of something that's happening there. And again, this week, we don't care about learning the exact part. We care about playing along with the track. We still want to be conscious of what's going on, but we're not going to learn it. We're verbatim. We're going to play with it. Looks like we've got a repeat. We're doing this thing 4 times. We've got some more palm muting after the repeat, but we've got these released accents here and there. It's kind of cool. We're down to the last line now of page 1, measure 17, 18, 19, 20. And the palm muting starts to go away. And then there's the second page. There's only, so the pages that you guys see on the screen are a little different than the ones I'm looking at, which is fine. 17 through 22 would be on the second page, so it doesn't matter so much. Cool. All right, so this is a driving rhythm. Obviously, it's called night driving, but just by looking at it, we can tell this is going to be driving. What's the tempo? Okay, so fairly fast tempo. I'm going to play the guitar profile, and then I'm going to play the track. And I'm doing this because so far, I guess we did a track last week, but so far what we've been doing is relying on Guitar Pro and then, creating the groove from that. Guitar Pro and any MIDI software, while it's great software for notating and getting an idea, it's grooveless completely. So we're going to listen to this, and then we'll go listen to the track, and it's incredible the difference. You immediately, when you're listening to real music, you feel much more of a sense of groove. So here it is. It's very loud. Turn it down. Measure 3. Measure 4. I'll start it over again. Why don't we put there we go, yeah. So already, what am I doing? Tapping my leg. Repeating, we're back at measure 2 now. 3. Another repeat. Lots of repeats. But while you're watching and listening, you should be getting in the groove. Those are eighth notes that thing is, 1 and 2 and so interesting. We're almost done, and then I'll expose my error. Okay, so this is what I naturally felt. And I just sort of nonchalantly said quarter notes. This is not a quarter note pulse according to the score. It is a half note pulse. Listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. If you look at the score, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm feeling the groove on the half note. That's okay. Totally okay. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. I could do that. That's quarter notes. Which feels more natural? For me, when I'm not playing, now let's see. It does feel more natural to be on quarter notes. To feel that quarter note. So this is just part of the process, right? You feel it multiple ways. Which feels more natural? Does one feel more natural with the guitar, without the guitar? It's all okay. The point is that you're internalizing the rhythms. Okay, so now we're going to go to the track after listening to the hideous score, and listen again. Here we go. Please slide. There we go. Okay. From the top. Groove and dynamics. Now, interestingly enough, with the track, 4, 1, 2, 4. I absolutely want to do quarter notes. I feel the groove in the track. Tapping those eighth notes. Don't play your guitar. Get in the feel of the groove first. Okay. That was measure 13, 14. Now we're measure 13, sorry. 14. All right, so real music grooves a lot more. It's much easier when you're listening to real music to feel that. Okay, so we've established the quarter note, tapped the eighth notes. Let's go to the guitar. Now here's where a lot of people, when you're playing along with stuff, you tend to overthink it. This is driving. It's fast. Let's try a couple things. I'm gonna just assume that I'll use downstrokes on the eighth note, which means my arm is swinging at 16th notes. It's going to sound sort of like that, but I'll focus on the eighth notes. That seems like it would be good. Before we go on to actually playing with the track, though, A minor, F bar chord, and you know, we're not trying to play exactly what's written. We're just trying to get the essence so we can blend with the track. You could do this one, this G, or you could do this G or this G. Straight G. I think personally with this track, I think a G5, whether it's this one or whether it's that with less of the emphasis on the third. I like that emphasis on on the 5 aspect. Not that you can't play the 3rd. So we've got A minor, F, G or G, and then we've got C or C. And then there's that little slide in there that happens. So I'm sort of, that would be on measure 10. And the tab says this sort of power chord, and then you would slide. You'd slide and do that. But I think for the acoustic, I'm going to hold the C like this and then go back. I probably won't always go to the full A minor. I'll probably do the A power chord if I'm doing, you know, that driving sort of, and just try to avoid playing that major 3rd. You know, I'm going to be free with it. I'm not going to be too focused on, oh, I'm actually playing this chord or this chord. I just want it to sound good and feel good. So let's go to the track and let's play it downstrokes. Okay. Evaluation. Did it sound good? Sort of. Did it feel good? It didn't feel that good to me. The reason it didn't feel good is because I didn't feel like I was contributing anything really to the song. I was playing the same groove as the electric guitar was. The electric is clearly doing, you know, the electric is clearly doing that. Is it okay for me to do that? Yeah. I mean, it might end up being what we do. We just have to get more comfortable with that groove. But is there other things we can do? Can we fill a role, still be grooving, and be a little bit more relevant? You know, maybe this song doesn't need acoustic guitar. Maybe if we find something that fits in a particular pocket, it's going to feel better. So what I was doing there is I had this 8th note driving thing. So I've got 8th notes downstrokes, a little bit of palm muting, and my arm is going in 16th notes. And you heard, there are a couple times I do these little ghost strokes where I'd put my hand down in there. I'd go into the strings on 16th notes. Like that. And notice my arm is not speeding up to do that. If I wanted to do those sorts of things, this is the right approach to take because I already have the motion going. So it's naturally built into the groove. But I'll bet if I were to listen back to it, I'll bet that doesn't really fit that well. So what I'm going to try this time is I'm going to chill out a little bit and I'm going to do this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So my strum value, my strumming arm is going to be moving up and down at a value of 1/8 notes instead of like this, which would be 16th notes with the 1/8 notes being downstroke. Now, there's no wrong answer here. That's one of the things that I've been getting asked quite a bit is, you know, how would I approach this? How should I approach? There is no should. It's how does it feel? How does it feel? That's the whole point of this course. Was the first thing I did wrong? No. This next thing might end up sounding worse. I don't know. I haven't done it. But we're getting into the groove and trying to figure out what is the most appropriate to play along with this track. We might have a question?
We do have a question indeed. This one is from Bob Reed, and he says, does it matter where the accents are located, or is it more important that it has a quarter or half note feel?
Well, when you listen to the track, you definitely hear the accents in the guitar. I think my hunch is that this particular track, if we accent too differently, too often than the rhythm guitar that's in the track, it's going to feel weird. Does it matter that you know where all the accents are? Not necessarily, but you want to be conscious of the overall feel of the song. For example, I'll start this track over again, and I will play. I'll play with it, but here, I'll just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Don't worry about the chords, just the accents. So I'm playing with the snare drum, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That feels really good. So I'm not playing the accents of the guitar. I'm playing with the drums though, and letting the accents of the electric guitar do its thing, right? And that's one of the cool things about arranging in songs is that not every instrument's hitting every accent. Like that electric guitar is accenting in a certain way that maybe just that electric guitar needs to do. Maybe we don't need to do that. If I play along with those accents, which I was doing the first time I played along with the whole piece, it actually feels weirder. I like the feel of the acoustic guitar locking in more with the drums necessarily than the electric guitar. So I'm answering your question by saying it is more important to choose a place in the song than play the accents, but it's important to know about the accents. Hopefully that answered the question. Is there any other related questions before we move on? Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to open up the strum. We're going to try it again, and we're not going to worry about playing like the electric guitar. Here we go. Okay. So, my thoughts, I'd love to hear your guys' feedback since we can get interaction. Which one you guys liked better and why? And while you're formulating, and I'm not hurt either way if you disagree with me or if you think neither of them sounded good, because I'm still not happy with either of them, I'll tell you that. I will say that I feel like I'm on the right track with number 2. I feel like number 2 has, now the acoustic guitar feels like it has its own unique role. And you notice when I first started, I was doing sort of this feel. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and... Which, if you look at the score, there's an accent on the and of 2, which is probably why I went there. Accenting on that and of 2. Towards the end of the repeats, I felt like I was doing more of this. Almost a train beat sort of sound. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So what I was doing there is I was playing more with the snare, which I felt like I wanted to hear when I was just grooving more as opposed to when I was playing. And this is a perfect illustration. What you're seeing happen here, if you're not thinking critically, you're just going to sort of slip into something and it may or may not be good. But when I had my guitar down and I was listening, I wanted to groove with that snare as an acoustic guitar player. But when I picked up the guitar and started playing, I started strumming along with the electric guitar player out of nature. Like, I just started doing it. But that might not be the best thing. And as I was experimenting, I felt like I actually got into the groove more when I started latching onto the rhythm of the drums more closely. So I'm going to take the beginning of that again, and I'm going to strum 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'm not going to emphasize the and of 2. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and see how that sounds.
While you're setting that up, sorry, I just wanted to give you feedback. Lori says that she likes the strumming because it complemented the electric sound. And gave it a fuller sound.
The second, number 2, right?
The second one.
Yep.
And Canyon Hiker agreed, so just wanted to let you know that we had some feedback.
Yep, we're all on the same page so far. Okay, here we go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 4. All right, now, I purposely went through the whole track maintaining that 1, 2, 3, and that felt great during the A section, during those repeats. It felt really good. That's the favorite thing that I've done so far, and I committed to it a little bit more there because I knew I wanted to go in I knew I wanted to try it. Now I committed to it for the whole way. The rhythm in the drums changes significantly during that B section. The drums start doing a little bit more of what the electric guitar was doing in the first part. And I think it worked. It actually, it made the acoustic guitar stand out a little bit. This thing was, it's kind of your constant guy. But you know what I'm going to do this time? I'm going to strum through the whole thing without strumming the chords because I want to focus in on how that rhythm that I'm playing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, how that works over the B section without having to focus on the chords. I just want to listen to what that does, okay?
We'll answer your questions right after this, guys.
4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 4. Make sure you're totally in the groove. So good. Just to be right in that pocket. Here we go. 1, 2. Okay, I like it. There's that cymbal syncopation going on, but I'm willing to experiment a little bit. So we'll take a question or two here, and then I'm going to go back over that B section and experiment. Maybe there's 2 slightly different grooves I can use.
Okay, so we got a couple comments first about preferring number 2. One person says, I like number 2 because number 1 is too fast for me to get accurate.
Well, so, that's a good point too. And actually, point. I was going to comment on that too. It actually felt awkward to me because it was harder to groove on. Like, which one is easier to groove with? I don't think that it's not necessarily too fast, if you were to work it up, but the fact it is going to be harder to get accurate because you're playing the exact rhythm of another part that's already there instead of complementing it. And I run into that a lot when we're doing arranging and stuff with bands that I play in or recording projects. Almost all the time, if I try to play a part of another rhythm guitar or too closely to another rhythm in the song, it sounds off, even if it is on. But once I find my own pocket, my own area, the groove just sort of happens naturally, and that's exactly what you guys saw.
All right, so we do have a couple questions, both directly related to this. The first one is from Canyon Hiker. He says, so if you're in a jam session, this is what they mean by finding your own groove that's different from what others are doing.
Absolutely. And, this B section is a really good example of that. Like, the fact that we're looking at this going, do I need to change? Maybe it's okay. Just the fact that we're asking that question means we're thinking in the right direction. And when you put this into a band setting where you're always evaluating what other musicians are doing and forming your own groove around that, listening to funk is a really cool way to do this because the electric guitar specifically, check out Nomad's funk series on Jamplay for an extensive view of this. But there's accents that are happening in the electric guitar that are happening nowhere else in the music, but they're still playing in the context of the music, and it sounds so cool because only that electric guitar is doing it. What that guy did is he listened to the vibe of, of the song and created a part that was, it's not his own groove. I don't know if I'd use that language. You're working with the groove, and you're finding your own part within the groove. So important, absolutely.
Okay, and the other question we got for right now is from Sir Earl of Toombs, and he says, should the acoustic guitar do a bit less than the electric guitar with some syncopation on 3 and the and of 4?
Well, so we were doing, the first time that I played it, I was doing all the syncopations with that 8th note, the downstroke thing, and I think right now, where I am not doing any syncopations, I'm being Mr. Constant. There's enough there's enough rhythmic displacement going on without me. So if I'm providing, I'm almost the shaker, right? Remember we brought up that shaker the first, I'm the constant, I'm the chill guy behind it's fulfilling the role. So I don't think I would do, at least, and we're going to try some syncopation on the B section. But right now, I feel like my job as an acoustic guitar player in the context of this track is to be constant with the drums. Highlight that 8th note subdivision. 1. So yeah, go ahead.
Before we get on with that, there was just a couple of people who had a comment about your B section that's coming up.
Yeah.
Slippin' Lizard says he thinks it would sound cool to pick through the chords rather than strumming constantly.
Yeah, it might.
And then
it's a great idea.
Let's see here. Marble Bug says, what about skipping the strum between the chord changes?
Skipping the strum. I'll try both of those things. I think that's
all right.
That's great.
Thanks for your feedback, guys.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do before I pick through the chords, which I really like both of those ideas, I'm just going to get a feel for the rhythm change and just experiment a little bit with just strumming, because that even if I do end up picking through the chords, maybe I'll pick up on a rhythm that works well that I can adapt to picking through the chords, picking the single notes.
Chris, do you want the notation on the screen, or would you prefer a more close-up view of your fret hand or pick hand?
For this, I don't care so much about the notation because it's more about the feel. Thank you for asking. Okay, so a couple of observations. I naturally wanted, again, to go into that acoustic, I wanted to, go right into that accent, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I still don't think it's best for the acoustic guitar to do that. That's, at least as a strum. I think I still prefer, if I'm going to strum it, I still prefer to stay true to that and let the rest of it play around it. But I think you guys are onto something. I think that it may not be necessary to have the acoustic guitar strum the whole thing. It drives a lot less in that B section. So let's take it again, and let's try to strum through the chords. So maybe something like that. Maybe we slow way down. Maybe it's a combination of strum, Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. That's why you take it to the track. Still got the groove going. I really liked that. I really liked it. It was sloppy, but now here's the other thing. That was sloppy. It was, by no means the final take or where I'd want to say, oh, I got it. However, the groove, notice I didn't waver feeling the music. I missed a few notes, but I was in the groove the whole time. Try it again. So what I naturally felt there was I loved the strumming through until we went to the F, and then I liked the idea of going to that accent. And I was still looser with the strum, right? Like I wasn't doing that. I was doing more of a picking out some individual notes here and there. And notice how imprecise it is. If it's grooving, notice my arm is not stopping. I'm not doing this. Not doing that. And now I was maybe a little bit more, when I was picking out the that's a little different because I'm creating a little melody in there. But when I'm breaking more into that strum later on, I'm just targeting the higher strings like we worked on week 3, I believe it was. I'm not going for necessarily a melody or hook at this point. So great ideas. I think we sort of combined those two ideas in that we started by strumming or by picking through it. What did you guys think of that? How it sounded? And what do you guys think? You guys are playing along with this, I hope. Are there any other ideas?
We haven't got any comments on how that one sounds yet. I'm guessing it's just a little latency issue. But we have a couple more suggestions.
Yeah.
Canyon Hiker says, how about a bass note with an arpeggio strum? Greg GP says, I've been trying all the upstrokes except the one, contrasting with the downstrokes of the electric and building in intensity. Sounds good to me.
Oh, okay.
And Sir...
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg. Sir Earl of Tomb says, how about higher up the neck with arpeggios?
Absolutely. Now, we haven't even gotten into different chords, right? And you bring up a really good point. Who was the one that said that one?
Sir Earl of Tombs.
Earl. So, when you change positions on the neck, it opens up different grooving possibilities because you have sort of a different palette. So if we're not here, if we're here, so we're gonna have to transpose this. A minor was here. We've got an F. So what I always like to do here, just so that you're following me, F, F, F. Okay. F is going to be C. And that means G is going to be D. I'm using the cage system chords.
Hey, Chris, I just want to leave a little comment here for you guys who don't really understand what's happening now. Don't worry about that. Just worry about the rhythm part.
Correct.
If you do understand, great.
Great. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this. I just want to... I mean, there's all sorts of... You can go crazy with different sections or different ways to create different sounds using a capo. So going up the neck, I'm just going to do this once. You'll see it will change what's available to me and therefore change what I'm going to do. I'll try to combine a lot of those ideas. I'll try to do some bass notes with some arpeggios. I'll utilize this D chord a little bit, or this D shape. We'll see what happens. Who knows if it'll sound good, but it's good to try, right? Really interesting things.
Wow, Searle Earl of Toombs in all caps. He says, "I love it. It fits nicely."
It does, and you know what happened here by having this is so cool to be able to do this kind of thing on the fly and experience this stuff, because by having this D shape in there, this is why don't let anybody tell you you're cheating if you use a capo. You're being creative if you use a capo. Did you notice what happened to my rhythm once I felt like I had this available to me? It took me a little bit and I'm going to do it again so you can hear it, but I was doing this, but when I hit that D, then I started doing the Greg thing, the upstroke thing. I was emphasizing the syncopation, along with partially the electric guitar. However, that chord, doing it only over that chord, helped the acoustic guitar sort of peek out a little bit. Listen to this, it's so cool. And I hope you guys are seeing the power of critiquing your strum and trying things, and it's the way it was meant to be played, even with these simple examples. Here we go. So again, we're doing those two things. We're pushing and pulling. The acoustic guitar is now sort of this call and answer part within itself. Here we go. I'm going to start over again because my transposing brain went out the window for a second. Yeah, some really cool options there. Now, if I were recording this, I would probably do both. I would probably, and we're going to be doing some of this in later weeks, where I'll actually play and record on the fly two different opposing parts that will go in within a track, and you'll be able to hear how that works from a strumming perspective. But think about it. You've got one part, you double your acoustic guitar, or you got two acoustic guitar players, and you have the one guy down here being plain Jane shaker guy, like we did before, staying in the groove, holding down that pocket. And then you have this guy floating a bit more. I mean, it's going to change the way this track works. And then you have to kind of ask yourself, if you're arranging, well, wait a minute, should they both be acoustics? Maybe the high guy should be electric, and maybe it's, well, we'll get there later. But anyway, good suggestions. Excellent.
So we got just a little bit of feedback on that. A couple people said, well, this sounds like they don't make it like that anymore type songs. So they're really digging it. Somebody says it's really sounding like a song now. Slip and Lizard says it moved out of the tonal range of the electric part, so you can really hear it.
Yep, that's nice too.
Which is great. Marble Bug agrees with you. The power of the capo is not a sign of weakness.
Yes, absolutely not. No,
And yeah.
Cool.
Basically, people are saying everything sounds like it has its own place
in
that last variation.
And so the point of this lesson, and we've done it already in only 53 minutes. The point of this lesson is that you're seeing it develop. You're seeing something that, a lot of guitar players, and I did this for years, would, you listen to something, you pick up your guitar and learn what's written, learn what's there. And it doesn't really work that well. I mean, you're not doing your job as a rhythm guitar player, which is to interpret, to add, to complement. And that's the drill we're going through. And that's the evolution that we've experienced here in going from playing exactly what's written, from phrasing and accents and all that stuff, to being a complementary instrument in more than one way. And we're probably not done. Like, this is a starting point. But, as you were to jam on this more, throughout the week, record yourself, try different guitars, different capo positions, different guitars, electric, acoustic. Things are going to reveal themselves to you in ways that you can strum along with this and play along with it, they're just going to keep coming. And that's what's so fun about composing and writing and playing rhythm on the instrument.
Hey, not to derail your point, but somebody wanted to know what you thought. Would the acoustic be too overpowering if there were vocals kind of playing what you just played? And how do you take that into consideration?
Well, that is a really good question and a good consideration. There are no vocals on this piece. And so we're going with what's there because we have no idea what those would be. But that really is one of those things that you have to kind of take it and evaluate it as it comes. If there were vocals, then you might change what you're doing. But we're assuming this is an instrumental because that's what we were given. But you're absolutely right. Just as we were listening to what the drum part was doing, what the electric guitar part was doing, we didn't really pay that much attention to the bass because it's pretty much just doing the eighth note thing. You're taking everything into consideration. So might it be too much? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it's in the way it's mixed, either live or in the studio. Maybe you find that you have to adjust your strum pattern slightly because you want to leave room for the vocals to do something in particular. Yeah, the best answer I can give there, though, is not a hard yes or hard no, but maybe. And the fact that you're even asking that question means you get it. That you're thinking about what else is going on and adapting your playing, adapting your feel of the groove within the context of what's going on. That's the whole point. Yeah? More? Less?
There's no more comments or questions right now.
Okay.
Seems like people are understanding this pretty well.
Cool. All right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to put the acoustic guitar down, and we're going to go to the electric guitar, and we're going to go through a similar process. And you're going to see how, and if you're an acoustic guitar player, don't hang up yet. Because there's some really, the interesting things that happen, just like when we used the capo, it opened up different ideas, different paths you can go with just because of the nature of what happened with that D chord and the different sounds. The same thing is going to happen, and I want you to see how this works. So, electric guitar. So, what did we do before? We've already gotten in the groove with our body. We're going to skip that part. I'm just going to play along with the track. And I'm going to try to stick to... Is that better? I'm going to try to stick to doubling the rhythm, which is probably very appropriate. In fact, I believe if you listen carefully to this, the rhythm has already been doubled. But is there another part? Is there a way we can strum through it and have it be cool? Let's try it. This is just for doubling at this point. I'm not going to add any coolness. Okay, so you're a second electric guitar player playing along with this, and that didn't compete with anything at all, you know? And what's kind of cool about doubling an electric guitar or doubling any guitar is that nobody's ever going to play it exactly the same every time. You know, there was little variances, but it was in the pocket and in the groove enough to where that actually sounds really neat. It adds this like depth and breadth there, this width to the track to have a doubled electric guitar. So that's definitely something that you could do, is just double it, and it sounds quite good. But what if you could take that concept of I'm doubling it, but I'm adding little things here and there that might widen it more or maybe give a little bit more interest. Now, keep in mind there is no vocalist. We do need to keep that in mind, but we're just going to pretend there's not one. And I'm going to, before I do this, I'm going to introduce the concept of strumming octaves on the electric guitar. This is something, you know, we went over scratching, we went over muting before. This is sort of an extension of that. Okay, all I'm doing, and the only reason I'm giving you this technique is because I feel like using this to taste, and I'm not going to give you hey, on this measure, do it here exactly like this. It's up to your creativity to fit it in where you feel like it might work. But here's how you do it. I am, in this case, it doesn't matter if I hit that low string because it's an E, but I am muting with my first finger. I am muting also this string with my first finger. Pinky is 2 frets higher than my first finger, and then I'm using my first finger and my fourth finger to mute. So all these strings, they're pretty much muted except for the ones I'm playing. All right, that's the technique. And so strumming these, this is a strumming technique in and of itself. You want to be able to be just as aggressive and free with your strums, whether you're playing this octave thing, and Stevie Ray Vaughan does this kind of stuff all the time, where you're muting certain strings, but you want to be free with it, I'm muting this top string. I don't want to play like I'm muting it, I only got to get these 4 strings. You don't want to do that. You want to be free with the strum and let your muting, trust your muting. So here is the way that I think, I don't know, I haven't actually tried it, but just in listening to it, I think adding octaves here and there are going to sound kind of cool. So we're going to experiment with that a little bit. A place to start with this, with your octaves, when you want to add to a rhythm line like this, it's pretty simple. You got your chords. You basically want to figure out an octave scale that works within the context of your song. In this case, it is A minor. So we're going to start our octaves on C, and A minor and C are the same scale. So we're going to play a C octave scale up. We'll stop at A. So we've got that. C, D, E, F, G, A. And we could do that one too. Play it rhythmically. Totally random, right? But I'm keeping the groove going. I'm implementing that octave idea. So that's just one of, any tool. I'm just choosing that as one sort of simple way we can pull away a little bit and add to the song. So let's experiment with that a little bit. Again, we just took a simple octave C scale in the context of A minor and strummed it. I'm going to be real octavey just so you can hear how this works, and then we'll add it tastefully in a minute. Everybody tracking? get the idea. Some of that, I mean, you first listen to it and you're like, ooh, it's kind of a nice flavor. And then after a minute of it, you're like, do something else, please. You totally don't want to do that the whole time. You want to use that in taste. But it is kind of cool, and especially to get your octave, your octave groove down, just to play that scale sort of randomly over it. And I didn't tab it on purpose. You're supposed to figure it out. Use your ear. Use your ear and figure it out. That's so powerful. So, but it's kind of cool. You're working on this, and you stumble across a fret that sounds really cool over a chord. And like I noticed when I first started, I was playing the C octave over the A minor. Sounded really neat. You don't really even have to stop and think about why. It sounds kind of cool, so go with it. Okay, so now let's tame it down a little bit. Let's do the doubling guy, but let's throw the octave in a little bit, the octave idea, see what happens. I definitely am sold on the octaves over the A section. I don't know about the B section yet. All right, well, there's some wrong notes in there, but I loved the E walk up. I think I could explore that a little bit more. I actually really liked the rhythmic thing that the octaves afforded me to do during the B section. That sort of repetitive. I was pulling the rhythm a little bit there using the octaves, strumming it. But you get the idea. Now, there's some other things that you could try, and this gets into more chord theory, where you can. There's an endless possibility of things you can do. We're trying to focus mainly on strumming and not, crafting melodies and stuff like that. However, the octave stuff, there was a couple things I was able to repeat there that after I did it a few more times, if I were to keep refining it, I might stick with something that, I liked the... And maybe that's too much there. Maybe it would be a... Maybe I would listen back to it and think that sounded better. Who knows? But that's the beauty of this experimentation. Now, it didn't change as much as the acoustic did, right? Because there was already something for us to go off of. But the lesson is still the same. You're taking a piece of a song and you're trying to find your place. You're trying to complement, add, interpret. That's the point. All right? So that ends the lesson-specific portion. We'll take pertinent questions first, and then if there are no other pertinent questions, we can talk about the weather in Colorado or whatever you'd like for a little while.
We have no questions at the moment at all. I'm
Okay.
going to take that as a good sign.
Yeah. Well, and I'd be interested in feedback, being able to connect the two worlds, the electric and the acoustic. Whether you play acoustic, you were able to connect it to the electric tonight, because you were using the electric as your guide. If you're an electric player, you'll be able to kind of look at your other electric player in your band and go, oh, yeah, maybe I'll add a little bit of, I'll vary it just enough to where we're still adding that wall of sound, but I'm going to go here while you go here.
Okay, this isn't a question, but I'm bringing it up as one so you can see it. Sir Earl of Toombs says, try triad power chords no lower than the D string. Example of an E chord, you can see the tab,
Right.
and maybe an open string.
Right. Yeah, you could totally do something like that. You could do, you could imply the same sort of capo thing that we were doing before. Now let's go over this. We've got A minor, so you can see the breakdown of this. A minor, F, G. A minor, if we were to do an A triad here, maybe. You could do that one. We could go higher, maybe, but I don't think I think I like the idea of that. Well, let's go over the options. A minor, and then we could do it up here too. There's other options, but I think that's going to sound weird, particularly with this. I think this one would sound better. So we've got A minor, F. Now if we're gonna cage it up. Remember our C from before, but that actually looks more like a D here. So we could do something like, cool, huh, right? So here was our A minor, we're gonna put it here. Dial back our gain, maybe something like, so. Now we could be lazy and could do that. That would sound really neat. Use that suspended thing. I know that's going to sound awesome. We're getting a little bit beyond the scope of the lesson, but that's okay because we're not in the lesson portion anymore. So let's take that over the A section at least. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's billions of options. I like that one though. Doing the, and I like the, yeah. And there's all, I'm actually going to be starting a beginner course in the spring, I don't know why I keep saying spring, winter, January 6th at 8 p.m. It's going to take the place of this course once it's done. And we're going to be going over some of that stuff in some of the later modules, how you can take simple triads and pentatonic ideas and blow them wide open. But yeah, you could do triads there, you could do you can do them anywhere. The key is, are you being rhythmic with it? And you saw I immediately experimented with rhythm. I didn't just do. And I was also conscious of what my guitar tone was, right? This just felt a little too messy. Maybe if I were to put a little something else on it, but. Good observation, good idea.
We have an actual question from Canyon Hiker. Can you substitute chords like a C6 instead of a T? C.
Yeah. Well, and yes, you absolutely can. And when I would substitute, and we did substitute when we went to the capoed version. We were doing all sorts of extensions in there. But yeah, if it sounds good, do it. I would say, you know, there are certain extensions that you can just do, like depending on, I don't, this is a bit hard, like the C add 9 or C, be an add 9 if you had that one, but to me that doesn't sound that good there. But with the capo, when we did it here, the same, adding that 2 with the higher notes sounded better. So there we're going, you know, C or E minor 7, you know, or we could even do like an E minor 9 to a C with a sharp 11. I mean, yeah, maybe do something like this. Capo chords, right? And this isn't actually a C. You do something like that. So there we're going E minor 9. That includes the 7th and the 9 to the, this is a C with a sharp 11 shape, F with a sharp 11, to a D sus4, D sus4 add 9. So let's just try that just to show you that extensions, and so changing a C to a C6 isn't technically a substitution. It's more you're just adding an extension. Here we go. Yeah, I like that too. I mean, that's another option. And notice again, the chord choices tended to make me think a little differently again about the strumming. I wasn't doing that anymore. I was arpeggiating a little bit more. I was playing softer. Leaving more space. Good observation, though. Yeah, there are no wrong answers. Try it, and if you like the way it sounds, so far I haven't not liked anything we've tried. And then that brings up another good point. When you are doing things, and you come up with all these things that you like, you really, I can't stress enough. Record, so that you can listen to it and evaluate it without playing it over and over again. Record a bunch of different ideas and mute them and unmute them and see which ones you like best. I mean, that's what producers do when they're listening to records. They try different parts, try different things within the groove, and evaluate what is being played, and in this case, what you're playing. And when you record it, you can listen to it more objectively because your body's not tied up in it when you're actually listening to it. But I have learned so much over the years about my guitar playing and about arranging and creating things that sound good by recording and listening to myself back. You know, you can do it so inexpensively today too. If you're not already doing this, you know, you can plug a mic into your side of your computer and download free recording software and then buy a drum machine. You know, if you really want to go that cheap, you can do it. But there's even some middle of the road stuff where you can, you know, GarageBand and a $50, $100 dual recording interface and a cheap mic and a direct in. I mean, you're good. You can do what we're doing here with that little stuff. So
We do have a question from Sir Earl of Toombs once again. If you put the capo on the 2nd fret, which is an F sharp, it's the 6th of A. Will that provide any advantage?
could we play this? So your A minor, your best A minor would be here. And your G would still need to be A minor and then F. No, that doesn't work. That's an awkward place for the capo in this context because none of your chords really work well with that. Now we could do capo 1, and then you'd be doing, you know, just it would change the flavor of your F a bit, and I don't know that I like that really either. I really liked this. You know, it's different enough and opens up different possibilities. You know, you could do, just so that you guys are following me, we could do this. So we're in this vicinity now. So this would be our A minor, and then we'd need an F. Oops, A minor, and we'll cage up the F. So we have the equivalent of a B flat, and then C. So it would be like this. Which I don't like having that chord in there. That. You could do that, but I really feel like the best places for this particular are going to be capo 5 or capo none.
I don't know if this is something that you want to try to address in a short fashion. I'm not sure if it's even possible, but Gamma Sign just wanted to let you know that, you know, it's cool that this session is part composition, and he would love to hear your thoughts on melody crafting.
Yeah, that's a huge topic. And I want to say that we will be having another live course that is it's 10 weeks on crafting melodies.
It is from Mr. David Walleman.
Yeah, David Walleman's going to be doing that one starting in one of the winter months coming up here soon.
It will be in January.
That one will also be in January?
Not sure which week or which day yet.
Okay. So make sure and tune into that. 10 weeks on melody. There's no way I could give you anything real to practice. Although I could say this, that all the melodies, and we're going to be going over this in later weeks, sort of in this course. Sing before you play. You know, if I were to come up with a melody here, I would not play it first. I would sit and hum, even if you don't sing. Some people have this aversion to, oh, I can't sing. It doesn't matter. If you can hear the notes in your head, squeak them out, and you might come up with something. But it's the same principle as putting this down and figuring out what we're doing rhythmically before we pick it up. We don't want to be limited, we don't want our melody to be limited by the muscle memory or what we are or are not comfortable with on the guitar. We want to hear what comes musically first. So if we were to put the guitar down, I put the guitar down a lot when I'm composing or learning. Oh. Go back to the A section here. I got some ideas just by singing it. What comes naturally. Let's try some. Just see what happens. Now, a guitar melody is going to be a lot different than a vocal melody, right? Because it's just phrased differently, but... Is that the best melody? No, probably not. But that was the process, right? What do you hear naturally? Then take it to the guitar. And then what's cool is, that wasn't the greatest singing in the world, but it got my creative juices going, and I was excited to take it to the guitar, and it actually really took shape when I was able to phrase like I'm used to phrasing on the instrument. So I started with the notes, phrased. That would be the 5-minute advice I would give you on crafting melodies. Start with the voice.
Well, it looks like we are all out of questions, and the evening seems to be winding down. So
cool.
It looks like you're free to shut her down, close her down.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you. The participation on this one was awesome. Thank you for the insights and the ideas, for tracking with me. I hope you got a lot out of it. Next week, we're going to look at a different genre, a different style of music, and we're going to work the same sorts of things. It's going to be that combination of, as Gamma said, we're working on strumming, we're using our ear, we're using our compositional mind and coming up with ways to create and interpret based on being given a particular track. So, we'll see you next week. I look forward to your comments on the site. Until then, see ya.